Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Highland Bullpen, and welcome to 2025. In Scotland, it's sunny outside, it's pretty cold, but we're above freezing, and they're playing baseball over in Arizona and Florida. I'm fairly sure it's also sunny. I'm fairly sure it's also not particularly cold. So we're excited to be back. Spring training is here. All our teams are out there performing and doing their bit. And tonight I'm joined by the two Daves. That was the name for an old-fashioned British comedy act before somebody thought the two Ronnies was a better alliteration. So there we go. So young Dave, you sat there with your White Sox gear on and enjoying spring training. What do you make of spring training?
First off, Alan, I really appreciate the fact you're glossing over the last time anyone would have heard from us is that we were going over to Chicago to take in. It doesn't even matter what happened with the results of those 4 games. So, no, it's very kind of you to gloss over the whitewash that we've seen.
The positive news is that those 4 games certainly set up a bullpen run to the playoffs, which is something that we've not been overly accustomed to. Well, certainly for 50% of the podcasters here anyway. So, but no, that'll do. That's enough. That's enough chat about that. Let's look forward and see how our teams are going to progress.
I agree, but I think looking forward for the White Sox might be binoculars at the moment. But no, coming back to spring training, for those of you that don't quite follow, what happens is in the off season, most of our listeners will be familiar with the British or the Scottish football scene. If you think about this being the summer and everyone's starting to get ready for those July and August games in Scottish football, in British football, the way that baseball works, and I'm sure I've got a little bit wrong here, but in the main, this is where I'm trying to go with this. Imagine your club side. Let's say it's Hearts. Sorry, that's a really bad. I didn't mean to pick Hearts out, Dave. Sorry about that. Let's say you pick out Liverpool. Imagine that Liverpool. It's football starts with a blank sheet every summer. You've got all your kind of 20, 30 first team players for Liverpool. You bring in your B side and under 21 players. You bring in your under 18 players. You've got 60, 70, 80 young men there. And it's not that they're all competing for a place to be in Liverpool's squad in the Premiership next season, but it's a great chance to see how they mix in, not only with the current squad, but up against other pros for other clubs. They're playing Manchester United and so on in these pre-season friendlies. None of them really stand a chance of getting in, but again, it just shows their development and what they need to do to reach the next level. So throughout the course of the next few weeks in spring training for baseball, I know this happens with the White Sox. I'd imagine it happens with the other 29 clubs. Day by day, it's almost like an X Factor approach where you start to say to 2 or 3 guys, we're going to move you down to AAA, AA, Single A baseball. This is your home for next season. Alan, what I want you to do to work on is this. Dave, I want you to work on this. And it gives you a blueprint for your development over the next year or 2 years within baseball until that last week of spring training. You're kind of getting down to about 40 players, 35, 40 players. And at that point, you're looking at your season pros, maybe the breakout rookie for the next year that's making a surprise inclusion into the squad for the coming 12 months. So there is a chance there that if you can make your mark, again, if you think back to football, you've got a lot of free agents in the summer. It's the same with baseball. You might have been offered a short-term contract to try and make it one last year before you hang up your glove. hang up your cleats, I should say, for the coming season. So it's a real chance for youth, for experienced players, for free agents and experienced pros to try and make the squad one last time, or in fact their first time. So spring training is well underway. We're about 2 or 3 weeks. From what I understand, it doesn't take hitters quite as long to get involved, but pitchers really need to build themselves into a season, and we'll be picking things off, I think, towards the end of March is opening day for baseball.
Yeah,
So just
27.
kind of, yeah. So I'm not sure, Dave, how are things progressing for the Red Sox this off season?
Well, I think you'd have to say it's been a very, very positive off-season for the Red Sox. They've made they've made quite a statement, I think, and they're backing up, the new, relatively new chief baseball officer, Craig Breslaw, is really backing head coach Alex Cora. And they've made, I don't think they use this word, a marquee signings. They've made pretty much three marquee signings. I would say you'll know the first one I'm going to mention, Dave. He's a real bona fide ace that they've signed from, well, traded. It was an actual trade, wasn't it? It wasn't a free agent. And that's the Garrett Crochet, the left-handed pitcher. Something that Red Sox desperately needed because they don't have a left-handed starter in their rotation. So I think initially they might have been looking at, was it Max Fried, who eventually signed for New York Yankees? But Crochet looks and sounds like the real thing. I think he's already had a couple of good starts. I think he's got an ERA of 0.00 in spring training, even though it's only 6.1 innings pitched. So
Is
very
that good?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Is his
And
pitching knitting together well?
yeah, I hope so. Yeah, we'll be using that quite a bit. I think we'll be getting a few good puns in over the season. And another pitcher they signed actually was Walker Buehler, who'd spent his whole career with the Dodgers. So he's another potentially a starter in the starting rotation. I think he was with the Dodgers organization all his career, and I believe he got the last out in the last World Series. So that's got to be a good omen. And relatively late in the off season, they were looking for the defense has been quite poor the last few years, especially in the infield, and they were looking to improve that and also get a good right-handed bat. And they signed up Mr. Alex Bregman from the Houston Astros, who's, is a two-time All-Star um, third baseman. And, he really is a genuine article in terms whether he plays third base or not is up for discussion because, of course, Rafi Devers, who's kind of the face of the Red Sox organization, that's his position, and he doesn't really have another um, field position as such. So, and he's kind of stated that that's his position. I don't think he's really wanting to become the DH, but we'll just have to wait and see. He did have some injury issues that affected him severely in the last half of last year. So he hasn't featured very much in spring training so far. I think it was problems with his shoulder. So it may be that initially DH might suit him and they'll play Bregman at third base, but he's such a great athlete. I think he can play second base or even shortstop. So I think their lineup it could potentially look pretty good. And they've only had one winning season in the last five, but with this lineup and that rotation, the bullpen they've beefed up as well. You've got to be looking for at the very least a winning season. But I think with this lineup, if they didn't make the playoffs, then that would be seen as a bit of a failure, I think. So yeah, yeah, no
Shows you
pressure.
the power of one winning season in five. Although I think
Yeah,
Dave and myself, from a White Sox and Tigers perspective, would always think that the Red Sox, their challenge to get into playoff always seems to last, apart from last year, obviously, it seems to last
Yeah,
quite a bit longer than the
yeah.
other teams. But then that's their, yeah, it's not a great record for one of the big franchises in the.
No, to say that they won the World Series as well in 2018, and I think one of the criticisms is under the previous sort of regime was that they were concentrating more on their farm system and prospects. So looking at future, not exactly a rebuilding, but they weren't willing to trade their prospects for players who are going to win you games now, and they've genuinely done that now. I think with the Crochet trade, they actually traded four prospects, Dave, didn't they? Including um, Kyle Teal, the catcher, who was number 25 prospect in all of Major League Baseball, an outfielder, Brendan Montgomery, was 54th overall, and a couple of other very good prospects. So they were willing to do that. I think possibly also because they have three extremely good prospects who are in spring training now. They're, come out of their farm system, and I think yeah, Roman Anthony's this is MLB prospects. He's the second best prospect in baseball. Christian Campbell is the seventh, and Marcelo Meyer is 12th. So when you add those three into the three stars that they've signed, and already a pretty good Trevor Story coming back, yeah, I'm extremely hopeful. Apart from the fact they're getting beaten by the Phillies about eight, they've given up about 18 runs tonight, but we'll not get too concerned about spring training just yet.
It was interesting stuff that the marquee signings. The Tigers, yeah, slightly different. They were in for Bregman. I don't know. I mean, that seemed to go on a while. I don't know if he was seriously considering Detroit or not. But if young Dave was good enough to mention the start of the Tigers' run to the playoffs last year, and if you remember, the Tigers had this policy of chaotic pitching. We really only had one starting pitcher for that incredible they went on with Scoobs. Yet now, when you actually, it's the start of a season, people have recovered from injuries. But interesting, looking at the potential five starters for the Tigers, obviously Scoobs, Jack Flaherty. He was with the Tigers and I think, was traded probably just before we went to see them to the Dodgers, but is now re-signed for the Tigers. So interesting. I suppose the Dodgers were, yeah, they were obviously competing for bigger prizes than we were. They had him for a short while. I should probably study that to find out what the Tigers actually got out of it. Reese Olson looks and sounds fit and ready to go for the season. Casey Mize is back. Will he make the starting rotation? Tigers chucked in Jackson Jobe during the playoffs as well. He made his debut in the playoffs, which is quite exciting. I guess that's these things can happen. Son of a professional golfer, Brant Jobe. I suspect time will be calling Kenta Maeda. He did okay at the start of spring training, but then got battered around by those damn Yankees this week as well. Something like that when you're on the fringes at veteran stage might just be the nail in its coffin. I'm not sure. And Montero as well. So there's choices to be made there, but it's quite interesting. A fresh season. It looks quite strong for the Tigers. Will Torque make it back into the team, having had a wee spell in the sidelines in AAA? Got back for the playoffs. I don't know. We'll maybe have a chat at some point. I'm sort of fascinated to see the run the Tigers went on. You think, will they continue that into this season, or is that something that was a one-off that we're not going to see again and come to fruition? But yeah, I don't know. The White Sox, how the White Sox been performing in spring training?
Not too far wide of what would be expected, Alan. Again, last season was disastrous from a historical standpoint when it
In
came
the
to
record books.
yes, in the record books. Um, and again, there might have been a little bit of misconception last year. Some people within the club seem to think that we still stood a chance of turning things around quicker than it will apparently come to fruition. So they've really just cleaned house. That comes from the management, the front office staff, and the team itself. So we had held on to some, when I say star names, but really good players last season were part of the White Sox makeup, but they were surrounded by quite a real cast of also runs. So they've cleaned house, new manager, new front office.
Yeah.
I think the White Sox are known throughout baseball as being quite far behind the cue ball, in that we've not really engaged in using data as a club. For those of you out there that have seen the film Moneyball, the White Sox were not even at that level, which was over a decade ago. Maybe even 20 years. So the White Sox, they've completely revamped everything they're doing behind the scenes, and they've admitted this season, listen, we're going to do our best, but don't expect too much. So again, Dave mentioned earlier, losing our ace, Garrett Crochet, who had a terrific year last season. His innings were reduced as last year went on to preserve him.
Yep.
It was his first season as a starting pitcher, and it was an agreement made to that those innings would be dumbed down or over the course of the second half of the year. So I think Dave already mentioned Braden Montgomery and Kyle Teal, two guys that we're really excited about. The third one might actually make the White Sox opening day roster. Chase Mydroth, again, what a great baseball name. He's
Taste is
probably
what?
Chase Mydroth.
My draw.
Hopefully doesn't chase pitches, but he is hopefully going to fit into our starting lineup, probably second base, but at the moment could fit in as shortstop as well. There's still talk that our centre fielder, Lewis Robert, who had a real terrific season, not last year, but the year before. Last year was really hampered by injuries, which is a shame because if you're going to try and get the same type of return that we got for Garrett Crochet, you're really hoping for coming from a position of strength, and that Crochet was a terrific pitcher last year. Boston have seen that, and that's why they've offered up so much of their farm talent to the White Sox. At the moment, Robert's still a bit of a, well, is he that good? Is he? He's had one good season effectively in his career, so there's a feeling that he'd probably stay with the White Sox. Let's see how things go until the All-Star break, and if he's really looking good at that point, the White Sox might get a good return, because at the moment, the way that contracts run in baseball, the White Sox are effectively not in win mode. A team like the Red Sox would be, again, with their brand, their players, the way that they've spent in the off season. They absolutely would be seen as a team to compete this year, and the White Sox just are not. So why would you keep a hold of these guys like Garrett Crochet, like Lewis Robert, when they've not got a chance of winning? The White Sox haven't got a chance of winning, so there's a potential to trade these guys off and pick up a couple of starlets who have got a real upside in the next couple of years. So the White Sox, again, it's going to be a real middling year. It's hard for the fan base just now. Again, they look across the city, see a lot of money getting spent by the Cubs. The Cubs are probably a lot of baseball fans' second favourite team. They've got a real brand behind them as well. So it's hard as a White Sox fan. There's never really a whole lot of light at the end of the tunnel. As I say that, we've just took the lead against San Diego Padres, which is terrific.
Is there enough? Is there enough light in the tunnel to convince you to go back and see them in Chicago, young man?
I think there always is. I think for me it becomes a bit of an annual pilgrimage now, and my son's became really, really invested in baseball as well. He's absolutely loving it. On talking about light at the end of the tunnel, the Minnesota Twins, who are in our division, Alan, as you know, there was talk about them potentially being bought over the winter, And the man involved in that, I can't pronounce his name, he's now switched his interest and he started buying up shares for the White Sox. So Jerry
Okay.
Reinsdorf, our owner, he also owns he owns the White Sox, but he also owns the Chicago Bulls, which is a real world famous name. He's been looking to sell over this last 12 to 24 months, and it seems that this new investor, he might be the light at the end of the tunnel because he sees a huge lot of potential in the White Sox.
Right. Good. Good.
So,
Yeah.
but in terms of this season, not a lot to hope for. Hopefully, just seeing some young men coming through,
Yeah.
seeing some real green shoots, and just enjoying good old baseball again.
Yeah. Did you have another thought on Mr. Crochet,
Yeah,
Yorkshire Dave?
he comes over as a really good guy, and I think he's he's saying all the right things. And as I said, he's had a couple of outings for the Red Sox at their Jet Blue Park in Fort Myers, which is built on the same lines as Fenway, the same
Okay.
configurations. But anyway, yeah, they don't have StatCast there, which is the system that measures the speed of his fastball. They have something else called TrackMan, and they said that it was clocked at 101 miles an hour. And he jokingly said, "I think that was a misread. I mean, I was feeling good out there, but not that good." So, I thought that sounded really, really great. I think he did have a few pitches that measured last season over 100 miles an hour, but it just shows you that I think that stands him in good stead. I think he's getting on well with the guys, and
Good.
he's not forget it. He's still a relatively young guy, isn't he? Like you're saying, it was his first. Was it his rookie? Effectively his rookie season, Dave, last year.
It was. He'd made a few appearances as part of the bullpen, and there was no hint of him being a starting pitcher at all, let
Mm.
alone at the start of last season, he became, I think it was one of only 9 in MLB history to make his first start on opening day. His first career start. So
Well,
he's quite clearly he's a young man. He's full of confidence, and he delivered last year, Dave.
Mm. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him, in the show. I'm sure he will be kicking off on, what is it? When is it? The 28th of March?
27th, I
27th.
think, on the
27th, yeah,
Dodgers.
Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
looking
just
forward.
a quick one, Yorkshire Dave, as well. Your football team leads. Is it going to be a successful championship promotion push, or is it? It's a good run in, but it's squeaky bum time.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd have asked me 2 games ago after victories against Sunderland, Sheffield United, I said we were looking good, but all of a sudden a draw and a defeat and wins for all the other 3 teams. It's back in the mix again, but we're still top. And as you say, uh, got a good run in, but anything can happen now.
Yeah,
Really. It wouldn't be Leeds if there weren't. We have
a
our
wee
ups
bit
and
of
downs,
drama.
as the
Yeah,
song goes, but yeah, you settle for where they are just now. But I think they play tomorrow night, don't they, at home to Millwall, who knocked them out of the cup, and so really need 3 points from that game tomorrow
yeah.
night.
And Dave Junior, you were talking about the potential investments, the White Sox, so American money potentially coming into Scottish football as well. Also with a Leeds connection as well.
Yeah, yeehaw. We're all on board.
Yeah,
Yeah, Rangers potentially. Well, it seems it's gone quiet in the last week, but I think no one's concerned about that. It seems to be the owners are part of the investment team behind the San Francisco 49ers, who are heavily involved at Leeds. We're all coming together as one big happy family. So Rangers, again, most people listening to this will be familiar with the story anyway, but it's probably much needed investment for Rangers
yeah,
to try and compete with Celtic domestically.
yeah,
It's yeah, it's things at Rangers haven't been great. Everyone knows since the issues kind of 12, 13 years ago, and since then, not that we've been hanging on, but it's never really felt like a solid foundation from which the club or the team can thrive.
Yeah.
So this should hopefully, everyone's only saying good things. I think Dave said good things about the owners and their involvement. I don't think they're suddenly going to come in and spend multi-millions at Rangers, but it should give a bit of a foundation to,
I think
a
that's
bit of
important.
solidarity.
Yeah, and I think as well, I was trying to think there, baseball money and football, but of course, the Boston Red Sox owner, he's Liverpool owner as
That's
well.
right.
We're marching towards the championship
Mhm.
this year as well. So now we've got a couple of games coming up this week on see Rangers Fenerbahce in the Europa League. Massive achievement for Scottish football again, and Hearts Ross County and Tynecastle on Saturday. A big top six potential battle there as well. So yeah, we can get our own wee excitement in Scottish football from time to time. One thing I'll close on tonight, keeping the blog going. I'm working on blogs on the various Scottish players who've played in the MLB. I think there are 8. So a wee teaser. I'm looking at a guy just now who actually holds the individual season record for stolen bases, and he is Scottish,
Is it
which is
is it me?
it is you. It
Or
is.
just when you said you were looking at him just now, and I thought Dave's English, so
Well, there can only be one. There can only
yeah.
be ones. So yeah, it's quite. I thought I'd go and investigate these things, and it would be fairly mundane stuff. But yeah, us Scots have an influence on so many different things, and who knew we were still ruling the roost after an 1887 season record, which still stands today in 2025. So it's fascinating stuff. So, gents, I've enjoyed your company tonight. It's been good to get back and chat all things baseball, Highland Bullpen. And listeners, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch up with you very soon, no doubt. Who's going to do the? Ooh.